We should be straight now. Mic check. All right, South Dakota, Rapid City, got Boston, like is muted. That's countdown. All right, loud and clear. All right, about time. I think I figured out the problem with that. I appreciate y'all patience. Shalom, Israel. Y'all watching me outside with thumb to the brothers. Y'all shamar. I'm watching me outside to the sisters. I Isupk Milwaukee. The Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, established in 1969, 1 West on the 25th Street, Harlem, New York. We are led by Commander General Yahada. We are not affiliated with any other organization. Israel, pay your tithes, pay your camp fees, pay your Passover fees, $200 per brother and sister 17 years and above. Get those funds in now because we got the Passover coming up right around the corner, April 4th in Houston, Texas. That's what we got. That's what we got going on, man. We got the Feast of Dedication, better known as the Hanukkah, December 14th, in your respective zones, wherever you're able to travel out to. For example, we're going to Chicago. Milwaukee's going to be heading out to Chicago. I don't know who all else from the Midwest is going to be joining us up there, but we will be joining our brothers and sisters in Chicago. There we go. All right. And then we got the Feast of Purim in March. So right before Passover, we got Purim. And that's where we get the tradition of casting lots from. Since we're kind of behind right now, we'll just jump right into this. We are still in Psalm 83. We're going to be on verses 7 and 8. Make sure that we're lined up here because, again, the count is kind of off depending on where you're coming from. I'll give you a second. All right, so yeah, we're going to be in verses 7 and 8. So we got them talking about the different nations that were confederate against us, who consulted together with one consent, talk about the Ishmaelites, and we had a good example last week of that one, I can't remember his name. Habibi, what's called Habibi for short? I don't know. Of how he was trying to cause division even in Israel. They would rather rule over us with Islam and subvert our entire culture, which is why this school is so important to not just get in the class, but follow the protocol, follow the law. The laws is what frames our culture as Israelites and our identity that set us apart from everybody else. That's why it's important to keep to this. So let's get right into it. See how many markers are doing today. We're going to be in verse 7. In the Tanakh, if you're going on the Tanakh, it's going to be starting at verse 8. But if you're reading from the King James Version or in the Blue Letter Bible, it should be starting at verse 7. You just double check the Blue Letter. Just to make sure. All right, for also for Rapid City, got y'all homework from last week too. Everything's looking good. Everybody's still pretty sharp. Again, a couple of things that we got to work on. Help me in verse 7. There we go. Again, a lot of it is going to be the dimensions of the characters in comparison to each other. And then just some of the elements of the characters that are getting kind of outside of the parameters of what we're looking to achieve. For example, the Sister S. She's getting. We're getting, something like this for life. It doesn't have to be that architecturally sound. You're not building a land bridge or a monolith or a skyscraper. It looks good, it looks fancy and all that. And the way that you write into your penmanship is nice. But some of the elements of what you're putting in here, that draws away from how we would normally just traditionally have that lie constructed. It should flow a little bit more. And again, if you're looking at the report of Paul, it would be probably a little bit more akin to this. This is my sloppy penmanship. This is your fancy penmanship. But we want to make sure that we're staying around, this model is what we're looking for. And then also to remember that the lie would start up above the other characters. All right, so it's going to be. If this was going to be our height bracket, that lie would start off just slightly higher with that top kind of curve. And then it would just occupy that same dimensional space as the rest of it. In contrast with some other brothers, I believe it was young man O, whose wives are still coming down here. That wash should still be the same height as the rest of the characters. The average height is how the rest of the characters would be. It ain't gonna be this little miniature half, half one. It's gonna take them that full length. What else am I saying? I'm saying I think it was young man OB whose Yah was more of just kind of a wave like this. Which again I can understand to a point, given the calligraphic nature of what we're seeing with the script. Where you can kind of see the difference between the script and the handwritten examples. I believe this is General Q handwriting. You got the script up here, you got the handwritten example down here, and it's more key to a common versus kind of that wave that we got going on. And listen, it's stylish. Again, everybody's handwriting is, your penmanship is definitely coming, showing through. It's smooth, it's attractive, it looks good, but we're kind of falling away from some of the standard elements of the characters themselves. With the high, we're still getting a little too much. This is bad. And again, you're not wrong for the waves here, because you can see that expressed on both the script and a handwritten example. But the one spot that I think I'm noticing this with the thigh. Is I'm seeing this. I'm seeing something like this. I think this was with young man OB. With the thigh. You're getting something like this at the end. When it should be more of a foot that kind of kicks out. This is a little exaggerated, but it kicks out. So just a couple points to look at going forward. Again, practice, practice, practice. Everybody is looking good. You can see the improvement. You can see the effort that y'all put into it. You just gotta try to just tighten it up a little bit more. All right. So Psalm 53. Get back to it. The ball. Well, I'm one. And again, my nod here at the end, it's a little bit exaggerated. You're not really going to see that much of a height difference in the actual text. But I want y'all to know, to make sure that you're seeing that height difference here. The Y and the nod, they're going to be about the same width. They're both narrow figures, but that end character for the nod, that should drop down below that standard line of height. So we've got a pretty noticeable difference going on. Again, in the Tanakh, you're not going to see it as dramatic like that. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be pretty noticeable, I believe. In my opinion, it's still very noticeable. But it's a common character to get mistaken with the Y, with the Ka, and so we'll just keep on working through it. So Y, Well, I'm a lot. I forgot a whole character in there. And this could be another one too. That quad is gonna fall below, like this main arm. That's gonna fall below that standard line too. Or this could be done there. The rest of this, the the larger curved area, that's gonna fall within the same parameters as the rest of the characters. But that main line, that's gonna fall below. It's gonna fall below that line. Shot. I'm the shot. Times of war. Cabal. One. One. Shot. See something real quick. On your shot, yeah. Times of war. Shout out to Cat with Times of war. It's like time war, my fault, Cat. That's be a good name for somebody over there. Times of war. Man, it doesn't really. I swear. Now the name, the meaning wouldn't really. Yeah, name really wouldn't be right. But it sounds pretty cool. Times of war. All right. So now Gabal, this is pretty much the same way it's pronounced. It's spelled a little bit differently. G-U-B-A-L in English. So now Gabal, that was it was like a coalition. Yeah, so if you look at the definition in the Blue Letter Bible, it just says Gabal, a boundary, a mountainous area south of the Dead Sea. So just inhabitants of Gabal. So people from that area. So it's not giving them a direct ethnic identity like Wan. So we got Wan, Wan. That's gonna be Ammon. Wa, Amalak. This is Amalek. Anybody know who the Amalekites are? What table of nations they would fall under? The Philistines. Lashawan. Rapid City. Let's see if y'all know who the Amalekites are. With the inhabitants. Inhabitants of Tyre. Thousand War, Tyre. Or Tyre, some people, Tyre. I've heard a couple different pronunciations for it. It's all essentially the same thing. The Philistines. So now, given the definition, Philistia, land of sojourners, and it says general territory on the west coast of Canaan or the entire country of Palestine. So this could be again kind of another coalition of ethnicities made up of Hamites and Israelites. Who was it? Goliath? He was called a Philistine. So he would have been amongst that population. Tyre, that was a Phoenician city in the Mediterranean coast. It gives that definition as Iraq. So times of war and stuff, all right. So if we just look at the meaning of the word Iraq, that's not too bad of a handle. But not too many people want to be probably associated with Tyre given their history against our people. But the Phoenician city on the Mediterranean coast. So this is probably give you another kind of amalgamation of ethnic groups. Probably could be again Israelites. We see how these guys are all mixed up: the Amorites, the Moabites, the Israelites, the Amalekites. Anybody know who the Amalekites are yet? What family group they fall in? Let me know in the chat. Give this a second to be copied. And we can see a lot of the later, I don't say too much later, but in Psalm 53:2, we're going to see some of the families that were involved in this. It's going to name some of the princes, I believe some of the other regions. He would have guessed the Arabs. All right, good guess. That's a fair guess. The Amalekites are an Edomite tribe. That's an Edomite family. The Amalekites were the ones that King Saul did not wipe out. King Saul did not wipe out the Amalekites. Their king, kept some of the riches from the cattle, I think it was. But King Saul did not wipe out the Amalekites. And King David, this is, Psalms is coming from his era. So he's still kind of expressing how, again, these people confederate with all these other nations against Israel. So again, we got all Edomites here. And this is just like a more specific tribe or family of the Edomites. Because in, verse 6, either 5 or 6, it had mentioned the tabernacles of Edom. The Amalekites are just kind of one of their chief tribes, one of the dukes. Of Edomites. Hold on, I'm going to look something up for you. All right, so if we were to go to Genesis chapter 36, you can start at 15 just for, the 36 to 18 kind of hits the point of what I'm getting at here. Starting at verse 15, it says, these were the dukes of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, firstborn son of Esau, Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Qadash. Now that word Duke also is the word that we use to general in the school. It's that's the Hebrew word for Duke that we use for generals. It's just given kind of a rank of prestige. Verse 16, Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came from Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Qadash. So that's just one of the kind of the chief Edomite tribe, Amalek, that Saul did not take care of the way that he was supposed to. Everybody wants to talk about how peaceful and loving, God and the Bible's supposed to be. The Catholics are, I'll give it at least some kind of credit to the Catholics. They expound on the war and the violence in the Bible. And you can definitely tell in their nature, they take some of this stuff a little bit, they identify a little bit too much, Catholics with the Edomites. In their nature, their degenerate lifestyle, and their what's a good word for it? Their complete misunderstanding of the culture of the Bible. They take things to a whole other level. Like their priests, like they go through such weird ceremonies of like flogging themselves. You got some of those orders that they'll take like a club with like spikes or like nails or something, they'll just a leather strap, and they'll just be beating themselves on the backs with it. They'll just sit there like all day long, just whipping themselves on the back to try to emulate like the suffering that Christ had went through, something weird along those lines. But again, we see that practice has nothing to do with the Bible. But these are men of some supposed faith that perform these kind of rituals, and it just that's why people think the Bible is a joke, because of characters like that. Which is why we have to keep these classes moving. All right, so we'll go to verse 8. That's why we got to keep the high holy days. That's why we got to keep the customs, the culture. So you can definitely set us apart from everybody else out there. Listen, let them do whatever they're going to do. Let them wear, man, let them wear whatever colors they want. Because on the outside, like this is the messed up part, though. This is the real messed up part about some of these guys. This is why you don't know. You don't know the history of some of these organizations out there. So the leadership, their membership, what the lifestyles that some of them had gone into while in supposed service. Uh, the stories get super weird though. I don't want to give them too much light by recounting some of the horrendous accusations and allegations against them, but it is that much more important that we keep a separation. And so I'm constantly saying we are not affiliated with any other group or organization because we can't account for what their members do. All right, so we got Kamal and Amallah. Well, Amallah, Palestine, Shabi, Gaza War. Dom Ashta War. Now what? Mom. What? Why? The body of the what? Salah. Gam Asawar. Nalawak. Imam. Ayawak. Zarawak. Banya Lawak. Salah. More red. All right, so Gam is going to be also Asawar is going to be Asur. In English, the way that it reads is Asur also joined with, or is joined with them. But also in Hebrew, again, that should come first. So if we're to read this like literally from Hebrew to English, also Asur is joined with them. But in English, we're going to read as Asur also is joined with them. It almost looks a little backwards in that sense. Now, Asur, these are Assyrians, the Assyrians. I don't want this to get mixed up with our brothers from the tribe of Asher. Some people might, just because of the phonetic proximity to how it sounds, people might accidentally try to pronounce this the same as Asher. Assur, for the Assyrians. Assur also is going with them. So Lawad is the root word for join. So now should be our prefix then. Take a look at this. It's not giving me. Yes, not even so much the prefix per se in the traditional sense, but just giving us a different form of the word. So now lawak would be for that concept of joint. With them. The word here is I'm up or I'm. And that's to express with. So I the musical expressing with part. And we kind of see that in verse 7, I'm Yeshavi. It's like that. I don't know why I didn't really go over some of that earlier. But I'm Yeshavi. Yeshavi being for the inhabitants. It said with the inhabitants of Tyre. So I'm Yeshavi, it's also war. I'm Yeshavi with the inhabitants. I'm with them. I gotta double check on this passage. What's the word? The possessive. Yeah. So now how it was, they had Zara is going to be open. Open. This is just like an old English word for help. Like as far as why they're spelling it, it's spelled HOLPEN. As far as why it's delivered this way, I couldn't tell you except for just unless we look up and look at the etymology. This is probably going to be from an older English word, probably I don't know, some European country somewhere at some point in time had school like this, probably maybe like Dutch or something like that. That just they liked aid, they assisted, they helped. Zarwai. If you look at the definition of Zarwai, though, it's going to say arm, forearm, shoulder, strength, forces. Arm is a symbol of strength. So we're trying to paint this picture. Sir also is trying with them. They have hope and they have given their arms, they've given their strength. They held up, they supported, they added to the power of Laban and Lawak. This is going to be the sons, technically the sons. Oh, we're just going to get right into it. The children of Laban, Laban, the children, La, the children of La, Lawak is going to be La. Who are the children of Lot? Rapid City. Who are the children of Lot? Now, Salah, in English, you can see it spelled Selah. That's in this case, that was just kind of an exclamatory ending of the phrase. Like, Sir also was joined with them. They hope the children of black. Like, good night. Like, man. Like, it's. If you look at the definition, to lift up, exalt. Now, they're giving it a technical music term, probably showing accentuation, pause, interruption. So slide. So even if you wanted to say it's not too much an exclamatory, even like damn near having a moment of silence. So and really, I would draw that akin to how you say good night. You see something crazy going on. Good night. It's like we don't know who the children of Lot are. I ain't no sweat. When Sodom and Gomorrah, when they were about to get destroyed, Lot's two daughters. I think everybody knows this story. You guys should know this story too. Lot's two daughters got him drunk one night after the next, laid up with him. They each had a child on them. Those children were, if we were to look back in verses 6 and 7, you're going to see Moab and Ammon. So the modern day so-called Chinese and Japanese. Moab and Ammon. So in verse 6, it talks about Moab being one of those confederate nations, and then Ammon. Yes. Rapping City, the Asians. The Asians collectively are the children of Lot, biblical. And that would be their family. So now within the Asians, you got now, and we use Asians as kind of a geographical generalization, but also kind of an ethnic generalization too. Because compared to the geographic generalization of it, you got like Southeast Asians that would also cover East Indians, and those would be the children of Elam, the Elamites. So the East Indians, being Elamites, would still kind of be considered Southeast Asians. But now the kind of traditional Asian family groups that we see out there, that the world over kind of associates as being Asian, the Thai, Koreans. When we start getting into some of the break-off islands, like the Polynesians, the Pacific Islanders, that's what's falling into the family groups of Jash. Jasher's got, and it's like it's in Manaboni if I'm missing a family group here, but they got the Australian Aboriginals, Eskimos, like the Hawaiian, the Maori. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. The Maori, I think Maori. And I think those Maoris are like not New Zealand per se, but some of those island inhabitants off of Australia. Papua New Guinea, Polynesian Islands. So like some of those South Pacific inhabitants we see right there, those are going to be covered under the Jash. But you're going to see similarities between how they might look, even. Oh yeah, I mean pretty much every family group has levels of melanin, so that you can see a lot of them get really dark too. But there's going to start being a separation between the children of Lot, the Ammonites, the Moabites, and then the sons of Jackson, and the Elamites, and some of the other nations that are going to be that you're going to be inhabitants that you're going to find in that area of Asia. So we might have an understanding of who we're talking about when we say Asians, but just know that there are going to be other considerations for different Asian geographic locations that aren't going to fall under that same ban. I give this another second or two. Now, this next part, it's one of my more, I guess, I don't want to say favorite parts of the prayer. But we start getting into 9, 10, 11. The history behind it. So like it. When we can find it in the book of Judges, and I almost even want to say in the book of Ezra. But when we read about Gideon, and I think this might be one of the reasons why I like this portion of the prayer so much. Gideon was an Ephraimite. His brother was from the tribe of Ephraim. And Gideon was a strong soldier. That was one tough hombre. And he had went to war with some of these princes against some of these, world powers at the time. Maybe not world power, maybe that's gassing them up too much, but we're about to drop some names, and you guys can check this out on your own too. Some of the different wars that had taken place. Again, I believe this was going to be taking place around the book of Judges. But if you were just to type in, Gideon, let's see how to spell it. Gideon, Gideon. If you were to just type that in, a little Google search, or any of the Bible apps that you might be using. Now I'll start pulling up some of the stories with this brother, and some of the names that we're about to get into here are some of his victims, essentially. And Captain Zariak, he was, I think it was today, might have been today, might have been yesterday, though. But he gave some powerful points about how, I was like, this is on Crossing Line Radio on Thursday, yesterday. It was on Crossing Line Radio, a brother had called up, and he was going in about how, we've got something valuable to be holding on to in this culture of Israel. Everybody kind of just focuses on, and there's nothing wrong with this either, but you hear the more common names and accreditations going to, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Yahushua, of course. But there's some other brothers that, you get Ezekiel and Isaiah, because, there's books named after them too. But some brothers that, like Gideon, he didn't get a book. Even though in pretty much every motel that you go through, there's always going to be that Gideon Bible in there. That ain't got nothing to do with, fucking the dust on the ground. But we've got a rich history, a rich past that predates the slave trades, that predates all of our captivities. Well, I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with some of the captivities because we were in and out of too many. But it's not just Egyptian slavery. It's not just what happened in Babylon. It's we got brothers that whose integrity precedes them. How your reputation precedes you, like the Maccabees. Mattathias, went to war with the Greeks, even though a lot of Israelites they had that fear. And some of them were trying to be so stringent on keeping to the law of keeping the Sabbath that they don't want to fight. They didn't go with Mattathias and them into the mountains for refuge and to start building up stronghold. They stayed back and they got slaughtered. And Mattathias wasn't having it. He was going to go to war on the Sabbath. It's supposed to be a day of rest. But we got people pursuing us, trying to kill us, trying to unalive us alive. What do you expect men who care about their family to do? To just kick their feet up, to not work, to not make weapons, to not make armor, to not build fortifications, to not gather their people? It's, again, they drew a very distinct line between them and everybody else of Israel. They made sure there was a very clear understanding that they was not the same men. Because you had they used to use rich and prestigious men of Israel to try to influence the rest of our people to following our oppressors' orders. Bringing in, what was the word that they used? I can't remember if it necessarily profane things or abominations into the temple onto the altar. Mattathias wasn't playing that. And that was an Israelite following the lead of our oppressors, of the Grecians, trying to distort, again, our culture and our practices by bringing an abomination into the altar, into the temple. And Mattathias, he put him down. That was an Israelite brother. That Mattathias unalive. We do not negotiate with terrorists. If it means that we got to break God's laws to be at peace with them, how would I say it? We don't conform. We don't conform. We don't negotiate. There are certain. I don't want to say allowance, but sometimes you get a slam on the sack. But we still try to service to the best of your abilities. If you're able to, take off for a moment, you do it ahead of time. They might make you work. You can always quit that job. Go get another. But the Most High ain't going to penalize you. For things of that nature that aren't. I mean, breaking the laws, there's no way around that law. There's no way around. But when we're forced into certain, again, that's what oppression is. Again, that's what oppression is. This was a brother who under that oppression stand back against it. I decided to stand back against it. You didn't have to kill them. She was not going to let that. She was not going to let that into the temple. Onto the altar. Wasn't going to rededicate the temple because they had to rededicate. But they were not about to play that. They were not about to play that. So now Gideon is going to be another book to read about whose deeds, the stance that he took, became the stuff of legends. And these can be some of the names. Verse 9. Some of the names and some of the locations took place. When you get some time, look up Gideon. Shalom. Shalom. Easier to see. It's easier to see. Commodity. If I can fit this Casa Yab Sarah, fit this Casa Yab Sarah. It's like that's a little ugly at the end, but that's a little ugly at the end. That's the Yab Sarah. The Yab. The Yab. Manakal. Manakal. For Yashwan. For Yashwan. Shalom. Shalom. Gotta see if the commodity and if that's are they joined or separated real quick. Commodity. Gotta see if the commodity and if that's are they joined or separated real quick. Kasaya. Commodity. Sarah. Kasaya. Sarah. Kayatu. Kayatu. Barakal. Banachal for Yashwan. For Yashwan. All right, so Isupk is going to be for do. Laham unto them. It's not giving a direct concordance reference for unto them under Laham. Reference for unto them under Laham. I'm gonna have to double check on that. See why. I'm gonna have to double check on that. I get see why. See why we're not getting. Yeah, so given the root word for ham, la being our preposition, and it's given the root word for ham, toast, la being our preposition, unto is kind of, and like we, it's akin to that. To Israel, unto is kind of reference group. To, unto, it's akin to that. It's in that same word, among, things like that. It's in that same kind of reference. So it's not getting into, we've got a lot for, but it's not giving coordinates for hum, things like that. Got two, it's not giving you got a lot as that's what's going on in but do unto that. It's not giving concordance for hum. It's unto the Midianites. We got so ka to laham. I'm trying to see what's going on with this, but do unto them. It's unto the Midian. How's going to be the preposition? Marian for Midian. Ka. So Kumadi and the Midianites do unto and unto the Midianites. Adds to Sisera. So we see that's going to be the preposition. Marian for Midian. So the Midianites being a nation, I believe these are Madian and the Midianites. It's like, so a son of Abraham, the descendants from Midian, as unto the peninsula, which is
All right, so son of Abraham by the progenitor of the tribe of Midianites or the Arabs.
As to
The Arabians, which I think today are
see that same pattern with
the inhabitants of today. They're going to be Ishmaelites. Now, I don't know if the Midianites got wiped out.
So the Midianites,
The inhabitants of that area
I believe
today,
these are I think they're
Saudi Arabia. Those are Ishmaelites. As to Sisera,
it's like we saw son of Abraham, the descendants.
so here we go. Sisera was the conquering general under King Jabin of Azor and slain by Jair.
All right, so son of Abraham is the tribe of Midianites
called in that first definition. He was a general under King Jabin of Azor. He was slain by Jair. Something like that.
the Arabian. The inhabitants of today well, I don't know if the inhabitants of that area
this is so it's up to the Midianites, Sisera, as did Jabin.
Those are his.
So Jabin being the king, Sisera being one of his generals.
So here we
Balachal at the brook. So Ba is going to be a preposition there, the root word Nachal. So they're giving the call, a torrent, a valley, a wadi. Not exactly sure what that is. Oh, that's a stream bed. Okay. So at the brook of Kishon, or Yaquan. That was a river in central Palestine, scene of the defeat of Sisera by the Israelites in the time of the judges and the destruction of the prophets of Baal by Elijah. So this I guess the Kishon, that area, that was a historical site for a couple different battles. Captain Zark is always referencing the battle of Elijah against the priests and prophets of Baal. Oh shit. Damn, lost the battery. Damn, the live stream got cut. The live stream got cut. I don't know. I don't want. Hold on. They can still hear us. All right, select the report. I'm gonna need you to manage this. I'm gonna need you to manage the media in the back real quick. I had to. Well, actually, I think that killed. I guess now y'all can still hear us. So I think we're still going live. It's like we're gonna have to clip this because we can't interact with them either on that. Salaki, technical difficulties, laptop died. We have the other camera system set up on that. Join us next week. Shalom, y'all. To the brothers. Y'all tomorrow. I thought about some y'all shot to the sisters. Feast of dedication coming up December 14th. Join us in Chicago if you're in the Midwest if you're able to. Feast of Purim coming up in March, I think the 23rd. And then we got the Lord's 57th annual Passover, April 4th in Houston, Texas. Come check us out.
Ooh, 27 Club.
All right, gang, let's really nail it this time. Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hillstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this Isupk can't nothing, we on fellowship. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life.